Welcome back to yet another edition of Newspapers and Language Learning. Today is Thursday, the 18th of March 2021. We shall have a look at today's morning newspapers in English to appreciate, to enjoy, and to engage better with the news headlines. Well, the first thing that we normally do when we look up the day's newspaper is to browse through the headlines, don't we? So, in this video, we shall get to know more about headlines and how to engage them better as part of a daily newspaper reading habit. Well, headlines in newspapers are of two types. One is called the curiosity headlines, and the next one is the traditional news headlines. The curiosity news headlines are quite crafty, you see. They usually don't provide you with information right at the beginning because they are written in such a way so as to arouse your curiosity quotient and generate your interest in the article. One reason we find most digital news broadcasters use curiosity headlines as a clickbait or as a trap to mislead their readers into clicking on their links. The heights of curiosity news headlines, that's why they are called yellow journalism, where sensationalism is given extensive priority over facts. But again, not all curiosity news headlines could be called yellow journalism as well. The traditional news headlines, on the other hand, are a real sharp contrast to curiosity headlines, and that's because they do not indulge in misleading the readers by resorting to sensationalism, ambiguity, or even exaggeration. Their sole aim is to provide the readers with quality information. As such, they try to avoid sensationalism of any sort whatsoever, and they provide a beautiful summary of the content, even on the news headline, without resorting to exaggeration of any kind. Now let's do an interesting and engaging study of headlines from today's newspapers. Headlines are known for that one unique feature which is called ellipsis. So what is an ellipsis? Ellipsis in Greek means omission, and so ellipsis means the omission of one or more words in a sentence that are obviously understood. I repeat, ellipsis in Greek means omission, and so ellipsis means the omission of one or more words in a sentence that are obviously understood. Let's have a look at these sentences. Her house is blue and a car red. When a boy, I played chess quite a lot. Why sad? When we would have asked, why are you sad? Some more coffee? When you would have asked, would you like to have some more coffee? Finished reading? When you would have asked, have you finished reading? And so these are examples of ellipsis in sentences. So ellipsis in Greek means omission, and so ellipsis means the omission of one or more words in a sentence that are obviously understood. So why do we use ellipsis? Mainly to save on space and to get straight to the point without any delay or distraction of any sort whatsoever. I repeat, we use ellipsis mainly to save on space and to get straight to the point without any delay or distraction of any sort whatsoever. Have a look at few of the headlines in today's newspapers. Well, usually headlines should be in the word range of 5 to 10 words maximum, not more than that, usually. And most of the headlines you will find the to infinitive form of the verb. I repeat, most of the headlines you will find the to infinitive form of the verb. Here in this headline we find Power Engineers Association urges DVAC to probe. This is yet another example of the to infinitive in the news headline. I had told you earlier that newspaper headlines are usually in the word range of 5 to 10 words maximum. However, some traditional news headlines sometimes exceed the limit when they feel they have adequate space on them. That's why I wanted to present this news headline for you. High Court tells state government to keep an eye on illegal water bottling units. Yet another interesting feature of a news headline is that they try avoiding punctuation marks in the news headline unless and otherwise it is madly needed. I repeat, they try avoiding punctuation marks as we find here in this news headline unless and otherwise it is madly needed. Well, this news headline is yet again from today's newspaper, and this headline is to answer the question, can quotation marks be used in the news headline? Yes, very well. Single quotes can be used if at all you want to cite or to quote someone else's words. And usually again, most headline words appear in lowercase letters. I repeat, usually most headline words appear in lowercase letters. But there are quite a few exceptions. That's because sports headlines are a real exception to this phenomenon of using lowercase words. They normally use uppercase words as well. I simply loved reading this news headline from today's newspaper, the New Indian Express. An example of a very good news headline, a traditional news headline rather. We find that it's again in the word range of 5 to 10 words. Australian bird loses its song in sign of impending extinction. I repeat, Australian bird loses its song in sign of impending extinction. Well, we find that there are no punctuation marks anywhere in this traditional news headline. All the words are in lowercase letters and they beautifully summarize what's in the story as well. Above all, this particular news headline has a great impact on the reader with its solemn caption that makes us empathize with this Australian bird even without reading the full news story. And that's the power of a good news headline, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on to the sports headlines of today's newspaper. This one is from the Hindu newspaper. City swats Gladbach. Well, sports headlines are of a different breed altogether. It needs a creative sports editor to write down these clever and creative headlines. We discussed earlier that news headlines usually don't use uppercase letters and that sports news headlines are a special exception to this rule. We find one such example of using uppercase letters here in today's sports edition of the New Indian Express. Shooters take aim at World Cup. This one again in all uppercase letters from today's sports page of the Times of India. Can top order ace pace test? I repeat, can top order ace pace test? Remember back in the days past when telegrams were quite common and we used them a lot in case of emergencies. Back then when the telephone was a rarity in our houses and every letter and every word was charged in a telegram. We then used the telegraphic style of writing. Ain't we? That's exactly what a news headline is all about. One reason we call them headlinees. Because they are short and sweet, clear and crisp, specific and to the point. We call it headline power. Well, that's all for now from today's newspaper. Do continue to read the day's newspapers both in English and in your vernaculars as well. Until we meet on yet another interesting and engaging aspect of the day's newspaper tomorrow, it's me, Rufus, signing off for now. Have a good day.